It is 12 noon. Welcome back out on this Football Friday. All eyes have been centered on Oxford, Mississippi to the west. Reportedly, Lane Kiffin is meeting with Kevin Carter, the athletics director at Ole Miss, as practice has concluded over in Oxford. So many schools around the Southeastern Conference kind of holding their breath right now, waiting for that white smoke to come up from the chimney tops of Oxford, Mississippi to find out what's going on with Lane Kiffin. But it is interesting because one of the stories that we have talked about here in the Deep South, especially in the state of Alabama, is what-if scenarios with Kalen DeBoer. We all know the pressure that it is, the fishbowl that is the University of Alabama in that head coaching position. Last year, unfortunately, Alabama did not make the college football playoff. This year, as of this moment, they're slated to be in the college football playoff, but we all know what's happening next Saturday, and that's the Iron Bowl against a very good Auburn team. The record does not show it, but we all know that Jordan-Hare is a very tough place to play. So what would happen if Alabama loses that game against Auburn? It's only won one game in the SEC. You lose that game, and then you lose the opportunity to play in Atlanta, lose the opportunity to play in the college football playoffs. So that then tends to lead the question of, does Kalen DeBoer look for an off-ramp? Is there a school out there that potentially would be interested for his services? Well, joining us now on the program, an award-winning journalist from the state of Pennsylvania. I followed her work for many, many years. She does an outstanding job covering the Penn State Nittany Lions. You can follow her work now at Inside the Lines on Substack. I strongly recommend that. It's a great follow. It's worth every penny. Audrey Snyder joins us now on Three Man Front. Audrey, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us here in the Deep South.
You got it, guys. Happy Friday.
Oh, absolutely. It's a good time, and I know you guys have been extremely busy. I know you just got back from a trip to Blacksburg. So before we get into all the what's next for Penn State and what that might mean for the fans of Alabama football down here, just tell us about James Franklin and his landing in Blacksburg, Virginia. Was that something that you anticipated, and how does he look there getting ready to coach the Hokies?
Yeah, it was weird. I've covered James since the day he got to State College. So pretty much, 11 and a half, 12 seasons, whatever we want to call it. So it's weird when you go from covering a coach every day and then all of a sudden they're showing up and they're in different colors. And, you're hearing some of the same taglines, some of the same jokes, but it's just with like different names and places now. As a reporter, you kind of look around and you're like, whoa, this all feels surreal. And that's the same word that James Franklin has used to describe it. I had a chance to sit down with James and along with 4 other reporters in Blacksburg, and he was super candid with us about kind of what went wrong at Penn State. And, you say never, right? And I go back to Penn State in September and college game days here, and they're getting ready to play Oregon, and we have a top 6 matchup. And, you're looking at it, you're saying, this is going to be the year for Penn State. To go from that, September 21st, to James Franklin getting fired October 12th, to now here we are at Penn State, 5.5, almost 6 weeks into a coaching search. That's why this sport is the best, but also the craziest, because you just look at all of it and you say, okay, like, sure, Virginia Tech made sense for James Franklin once you started parsing kind of through his options and opportunities, but then you look at his buyout and you say, well, why would he want to do this job when he could make just as much money not coaching and not doing anything? But these guys are just wired so differently. And he said within 24 hours of him getting fired at Penn State, it was, okay, let me think about it. Yep, I'm good. I want to coach. That's what I love to do. So definitely surreal seeing him in Blacksburg. I'm really curious to see what he can kind of do with that program. And obviously SEC fans know that the guy's got energy and it's gonna hit like it did at Vanderbilt. But yeah, I bring that up as to say, just when you think you've seen it all in this sport, you always say, well, what if?
Yeah. Audrey, what was it like covering James Franklin? Because some coaches, they're easier to work with, as we all know, than others. Was he pretty media friendly, or just how was it?
Yeah, I will say this as someone who spent the most time in his media doghouse, if you will, because I have a job to do and I've got to ask you questions, and sometimes you don't want to answer those questions. You might not like to answer them, whatever. That's the job. But there was always a healthy level of respect there. I think what was really interesting for him and this is going to be fascinating to see how it happens at Virginia Tech, is you go from Vanderbilt with a really, really small group of reporters covering you to Penn State, where you are the biggest show in town. You're 3 hours from Philadelphia, 3 to Pittsburgh. Like, this is it. This is the main attraction. And you have a lot of outlets that cover this team. So you go from, okay, maybe you only have to deal with a handful of reporters to all of a sudden you show up and there's 50 people in the room with cameras in your face and your every move is being watched. Plus, this is a really small community. You're not in Nashville. So it's a lot different on a personal level. But I will say, over time, James loosened up here, and that's kind of another layer to this season that makes it so fascinating, is that he was as loose as he's ever been this year. I mean, I even think back going into that Oregon game, which really broke this program, is he seemed loose. He was happy. He was joking around. And I always interpreted that as, all right, this guy must know he's got a really good team this year. And so, again, it's just such a weird set of circumstances to see him at Virginia Tech and to see Penn State going through a coaching search. But, yeah, I mean, from like the media perspective, I think we made great strides with James, and he was more open down the stretch. And I think by the end that he was starting to have a better understanding of how we do things. But then you go to Virginia Tech and, you have way fewer reporters covering that program on a daily basis than you do here. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes, but James is certainly a fascinating figure. And once you get that first domino to fall in this coaching carousel, then you're trying to assess all these other spots.
Audrey Snyder joins us, covers the Penn State Nittany Lions. You could follow her podcast, Inside the Lines. You can also follow her and subscribe on Substack. All right, Audrey, here's the conversation we've had in these neck of the woods. We all realize that Kalen DeBoer, outstanding coach for the Washington Huskies, he really was the first person that Greg Byrne, the athletics director at Alabama, identified in the coaching search. Matter of fact, within about 48 hours, he was hired as Alabama's next head coach after Nick Saban retired. So my question is, when James Franklin was let go on that Sunday afternoon, who was the first couple of names that started making the rounds in regards to who Penn State potentially was open to maybe reaching out to?
Yeah, at that time, Mike Elko was the hot name, and there was some legitimate juice to that. Penn State did make a run at Mike Elko, and granted, since then things have changed, and know that he's not coming here. So he was certainly a name early on out of the gate. One of the names that always seems to kind of get floated in Big Ten country and maybe other places too, but Matt Campbell, that was kind of one of those early names, but really nothing has materialized there to my knowledge. Like, I don't think we have to worry about that. Brent Key at Georgia Tech is certainly someone that has been in the mix, and that was one of those early names too. And then you always, and some of this is coming from, again, this is a big search. You start, because this happened when it did, October 12th, it's like we might be covered a 2-month coaching search. So you have time if you're
Right.
Penn State to cast that wide net. So, of course, you heard from a lot of fans that are like, what about Brian Hartline, Ohio State's offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach? And, and that was kind of the hot name on a fan's mind just because Penn State was going to play Ohio State. And Ohio State has all these great wide receivers that Penn State fans have seen up close and personal that have not liked going against. But, I mean, again, I do not think Brian Hartline is in the mix. This, to me, was one of those names where you say, yeah, I think Hartline would need to go somewhere else first, get more experience, and then maybe in a few years we're having a conversation like this. Or the guy has the right to be ultra-selective and stay at Ohio State. And, again, what's kind of the long-term outlook with Ryan Day? And is it there? Is it in the NFL? And then, obviously, Marcus Freeman is one of those names that you're going to hear just because this is someone who's achieved a whole heck of a lot. And do I see him leaving Notre Dame? No. But does it mean that Penn State isn't going to try? Also, no. I mean, like, this is Penn State, and I love to bring this up because I think it puts this job in a really good context and perspective. Penn State's head coaching job has not come open under normal circumstances, non-sanctioned circumstances, since 1967. And at that point, Penn State promoted from within and went from Rip Engel to Joe Paterno. So again, I mean, this is not a place that's used to turnover. And you look at it and you say, okay, you go from Joe Paterno to Bill O'Brien to James Franklin, which, 12 years here, that is a long time in this day and age of college football to now, okay, you're way past the sanctions. You've got all this alignment that James spoke of and worked so hard to get, and you're coming off of, really being a minute or so away from playing for a national championship last year, and you're trying to bring in a coach who can get you to that next spot. And I'd be remiss because Nebraska comes to town this weekend. The hottest name out of the gate here, of course, was Penn State guy Matt Rule, but we know that Nebraska has since extended him. So again, that was their connections with Rule and Penn State athletic director Pat Kraft, their friends. So that was like the biggest, buzziest name there for a hot second around here, but not anymore.
Salary, Audrey, used to be a big consideration, but now with revenue and the TV contracts that we have going on, it seems like everybody can afford to pay their coach at least $10 million when it comes to Power 4 schools, the Big Ten, the SEC, all of these big names of guys that have been mentioned in relation to this job. They've got really good jobs. So what is Penn State selling to these candidates that you think might entice one of them to go and take that job?
Yeah, you are selling a place that, again, was close to playing for a national championship, a place that has the infrastructure to compete. I mean, we all know it's about the Big Ten and the SEC, and hey, you're positioned in the two conferences that you want to be positioned in. And so much of James Franklin's tenure, and this is kind of what rubbed fans the wrong way at times, because he was always, and also administration, he was always pushing for more, and he wanted better facilities. He wanted an increased commitment from the university to Penn State football. And we know that Penn State now has these things. And a large part of that is because of James Franklin pushing and wearing people down to get this program to this point. So you look at it and say, okay, Penn State's going to invest the full revenue share into it. Like, that's massively important. Despite being an athletic department with 31 varsity sports, football is always the biggest show in town here. You have a stadium that's in the midst of a massive renovation that's going to be done here in the next year or so. So that's another selling point. You are the biggest show in town. Oh, yeah, you look at Penn State's schedule next year. They have a really soft schedule, just happens to be the way it lines up in the Big Ten for them next year. So I think that could be like an immediate selling point. You have the infrastructure here in place to win, and James Franklin proved that. I mean, this is a place where you look at the 6-hour radius and the footprint, and, it gets a little interesting now with James Franklin at Virginia Tech, because we know he recruits the Maryland area, which has a ton of talent. He recruits that area really well and has for a long time, dating back to his time as Maryland's offensive coordinator. So, you've got all of these pieces in place here to be a legitimate big-time player, and you have a fan base that wants to win, and that's been waiting to win. And you say, okay, they haven't won a national championship since '86, and, Penn State fans will rightly make the argument that they got jobbed in '94. These fans are hungry, and I think Pat Kraft has been a really good match for this fan base, just in terms of saying, like, okay, you went out, you got Jim Knowles last year from Ohio State.
Right.
You brought in, one of the most attractive defensive coordinators, if not the most attractive defensive coordinator in the country. And I fully expect that Knowles is going to be part of this next Penn State coaching staff. Now, obviously, if, for a while there, I had my doubts if it would have been Elko and how maybe they would have navigated that with some defensive-minded guys. But, I think that's the other selling piece is, hey, like, we've got Jim Knowles here, and we're already a year invested into him into a 3-year contract. Like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We'd really like it if you'd keep him.
Right. Audrey, I have to ask you about these persistent rumors. I know you guys talked about it on your podcast last night, and others in your neck of the woods continue to beat the drum that Kalen DeBoer is a name of interest and potentially number one on the wish list for Penn State. What can you tell us about that and the potential of Kalen DeBoer there in Happy Valley?
Again, this is a name from the get-go, because you're looking at it, you're saying, all right, well, who are the top coaches in the sport? And you brought up earlier the point of who maybe needs an off-ramp. And Penn State just went through this with James Franklin, where you say, okay, there's no way this is going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But then everything crumbles and the season falls apart, and it gets so toxic that the head coach needs a fresh start, that the fan base wants a fresh start. And that's kind of where I've been with this all along is, hey, if Alabama, if things fall apart down the stretch, that for a Penn State fan perspective Like that's what Penn State fans are going to be keeping an eye on, and that's what they're hoping for, right? Is if Kalen DeBoer is your guy, you've got the door cracked slightly to make that pitch. Now, again, Kalen DeBoer has one of the best jobs in the country, right? Penn State is a very attractive job. It's not Alabama, but it is Penn State, right? So, like, you've got two powerful football programs here. Does it get to a point with DeBoer, if it falls apart, if it gets uncomfortable, that he's maybe saying, maybe second guessing, you know what? I don't know if I want to be here. I mean, we saw it last year with Ryan Day, right? And Ohio State and how toxic it got after the game and losing to Michigan. And people wanted to run Ryan Day out of town. And it was a horrible scene for him and his family and all these things. And then, you go and win it all and nobody cares anymore. Everything's great. I think there is a real human element to this sport that maybe sometimes people overlook. Because I can tell you with certainty at the end, James Franklin was not looking forward to walking out of that tunnel anymore and hearing it from Penn State fans. Like there was a real toll that it took on him and his family. And that to me is where, again, if things go south for Alabama, that's when Penn State has their best shot to continue pursuing him. But yeah, I mean, I think you also look at Key at Georgia Tech and you say, okay, well, is that definitely a more realistic option? Probably. But again, just like Marcus Freeman, Penn State, because this search is so long, they have the opportunity to at least pitch this place and pitch this job to a lot of people, and they're going to do it and continue to do it.
Audrey, at the end of the day, Kalen DeBoer's representation, they reach out to Penn State and they say, look, we're looking for that exit ramp. Is that a done deal?
I think Penn State would be very, very happy and would do it, yes. Now, does it get to that side from DeBoer, right? That to me is the bigger side, because I think on the Penn State angle, sure, you would absolutely love to have him. That's your like wish list top guy. You never say never in this sport, but again, you guys open this segment talking about the Iron Bowl, and we all know crazy things happen in rivalry games.
Oh yeah.
And again, I'm not there on the ground in Alabama. I've never talked to Kalen DeBoer, so I can't tell you, what it's like for him kind of living in that fishbowl and navigating that. But living in State College, which is very much a fishbowl, I can tell you that these jobs are tough, and it's tough when things aren't going well. And again, this is not to say that things aren't going well at Alabama right now, but when you have some of those blips on the radar, losses here and there, these guys hear it, and you wonder if that maybe, has their ear a little bit more. And I think, too, the point earlier you guys were making about spending, I think Penn State made a pretty loud statement by getting rid of James Franklin with that $48 million buyout and saying, hey, we're not worried about that. We're going to figure it out. And at the end of the day, Penn State was able to negotiate a buyout down with Franklin, so they only owe him $9 million. So, which I've been saying all along, like, hey, people are going to get wrapped up in the big number. But financially, all right, you owe James Franklin $9 million. It is not a lump sum payment. So that frees up a lot of money to make you a big-time player in this coaching carousel.
That is Audrey Snyder. You can follow her work Inside the Lions. Just a great read and great follow. You can follow her on Twitter at AUDNSIDER4 on Twitter, on X. Audrey, we appreciate your time. And listen, you've been around this game long enough, just like we have. And just when you think it's safe, it's not, and something crazy happens. So who knows?
Yeah.
We may be talking again. You never know what happens next Saturday in Auburn, Alabama. So.
Yeah, I can tell you guys there will be a lot of eyes from State College keeping an eye on the Iron Bowl.
There's no question. Well, Audrey, listen, have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, hope to catch up with you again soon.
You all as well. Take care.
Thank you so much. That's Audrey Snyder. She joined us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Man, good stuff. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
So you're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance.
We'll get you updated what's going on in Oxford, your text as well, this Football Friday on 3-Man Front.
Great conversation with Audrey Snyder. If you missed that interview or an interview with Mike Rodak, Wimp Sanderson, you can always download the 3-Man Front podcast and take a listen to that. For more than 4 decades, Alabama Professional Services, they've been the trusted choice for pest control, termite protection, lawn care, fertilization, and more. These certified statewide teams of APS, the experts are friendly, efficient, and reliable. You need to call them today at 205-951-9717. Whether you're looking to safeguard your home from pests and keep your lawn healthy and green, APS delivers proven solutions backed by dependable customer service. Call them today, 205-951-9717, or go to their website, alabamaprofessional.com.
All right, so we've been talking about a meeting that's supposed to be taking place today in Oxford, Mississippi, with Keith Carter, the Ole Miss athletics director, and one head coach, Lane Kiffin. Head coach for now, right?
As of this moment, yes.
No, he'll be a head coach.
Yeah,
Well, somewhere.
Somewhere.
Not sure if he'll be in the Bayou or Ocala or Oxford.
Do we get any kind of statement from either Lane Kiffin or Keith Carter or folks that they allow to report something?
Well, based on the way things have been getting leaked out by one side, I think it's going to be pretty hard not to get some indication, right?
If you have the ability to put all of the uncertainty and the negative vibes that we had a caller that has a son that's in school there, what he's hearing from the football building and it's upside down right now, you want to have that before next week, right? Before you go into your rivalry game with.
Yes. Yeah, no, you do. And I think you want to give the team, if you can, almost like a weekly refresh of it's game week. Like, we had our bye week. I know there's a lot of stuff going on. We have to focus on this upcoming. It is a rivalry game. Mississippi State's better than they have been the last couple of years. You want your team focused on this. But with all that being said, I do think the first inkling we'll get out of all this, you're going to get some sort of a vague social media post from Lane Kiffin in the next couple of hours. It'll be a picture or a little quote or something after the meeting.
I'm just setting this up in my mind, Pat, where if Lane Kiffin is still the coach and we don't get any kind of announcement that he's going to be there at Ole Miss next season.
It is interesting because Neil McCready, who covers Ole Miss for Ole Miss 247, we've mentioned Neil's name before. Neil does a podcast. He also is someone that folks in this state are very familiar. He covered the Auburn Tigers, I think, for the Mobile Press Register. So he was in the state of Alabama for a long time, and he's been at Ole Miss now for a good portion of the latter part of his career. And he just posted this a couple of moments ago. He says, as of late as yesterday, the family was absolutely doing things a family would do when it is at least considering a move, including looking at real estate options in Baton Rouge. It also, he went on to say, I can tell you without a doubt, Kiffin is LSU's top choice. The second choice is Missouri's Eli Drinkwitz. So, again, just trying to read a little bit more on the fly here of what he is putting behind the paywall. But according to Neil McCready, the family was absolutely looking at things in Baton Rouge this week, real estate and things of that nature. So,
okay.
That's a good investment opportunity, even from afar, right?
And by the way, we debunked what the plane was doing this morning. It was going to Oxford to pick up a black lab.
Juice 2.0.
Okay.
Well, that must be a great lab.
I did see. Okay, so I saw there was an update on the flight where apparently it is now heading back to Baton Rouge. So I guess it has ended its circulation for the day. But there were some rumblings out there that the plane was going to make another stop in Columbia, Missouri, which,
I pointed this out before. I mean, unless now they're like flying and picking up family members, like coaches are not getting on planes when they have a job. They're not doing that. So, I mean, unless the plane's going to Columbia, Missouri to pick up one of Eli Drinkwitz's family members that's going to go scope out Baton Rouge like Lane Kiffin's family did. So everyone's eagerly anticipating something out of this 12 noon reported meeting between the athletics director at Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin.
So by the time, and I guess it could happen hopefully in the next hour and a half while we're on the air, but between now and when we are on the air Monday for Reaction Monday, do you think we will have a definitive conclusion to the Lane Kiffin saga, whether that's him staying at Oxford or him taking one of the other jobs?
I think the guy that's in the worst position here is Keith Carter, because he's the one that's having to answer the questions, and Lane Kiffin's not talking. And apparently, the only people he's talking to is brief conversations and hot yoga, or I don't know. I mean, Keith Carter's probably going, Lane, you got to help me out here, man. I'm getting roasted, because I'm sure Keith Carter's being asked, why don't you know this? You're the guy that he talks to. What's going on?
And I get this is a monumental life decision. He's had a while to think about this. On top, I mean, his name's been thrown around like this for years now, too. Like, I don't know. Kind of feels like you would know in your heart if you're ready to leave or not.
You think so?
Well, that was my point earlier. What else do they need to talk about? I mean, all indications that Ole Miss has provided Lane Kiffin with all the answers that he was requiring a couple weeks ago in regards to, I guess, to the future or whatever he needed. They got a contract extension. Ready to be signed.
Is his mind made up? And he's like, Keith, these guys need me. Don't make me stop coaching through the playoff.
Well, as we've talked about before, it is not tenable to have someone coach a football team in which you're going to go be the head coach of another one, especially one of your biggest rivals. It's not happening. All right, we will get to your text messages. We got a full bank that we need to get to, brought to you by Courtesy GMC.
What do you think Lane's looking for square footage-wise in a house? Is 4,500 too low? Does he need a pool?
Maybe he was just waiting for the official Brian Kelly firing so that maybe he could put a price in for his house.
He needs to add a hot yoga studio. Maybe that's what he's waiting on, because he has to do that every day. So until that's done, he can't.
We've got a way we can get in touch with Lane. Do you want me to just find like 5 houses that I found him that I think would be very suitable?
Pose as a real estate agent in Baton Rouge.
You remember the time that Lane Kiffin retweeted me? You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
I remember the time that he was hanging out there on the patio at Soho Social.
Yep, hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, more three-man front on this Football Friday. This is Jocks.
It's 12:35, a football Friday. Thanks for joining us. Wimp Sanderson in the first hour, Mike Rodak talking Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. To be fair, Kane Womack and also Ryan Grubb. The coaching carousel continuing. Expected meeting between Ole Miss Athletics Director Keith Carter and Ole Miss head football coach for now, Lane Kiffin, taking place today. Also, Audrey Snyder inside the Lions. She covers Penn State, joining us about the potential of that Penn State job and what it looks like and anything to the ridiculous rumors or smoke surrounding Kalen DeBoer leaving Alabama. You want to watch football this weekend, whether it's the NFL or whether it's obviously college football, you're going to find it there at the Finnick. It's a great place to enjoy not only sports, but also entertainment like live music. Got acoustic music Wednesday through Friday, 5:30 to 8. Live band starting tonight at 10. Tomorrow and through the weekend, through Monday Night Football, it's all dedicated to football. They got a state-of-the-art sound system. They got the video boards, the large screen televisions. Got pool tables if you want those, an award-winning menu, but you can check it out. It's the Finnick, 1630 2nd Avenue South near Railroad Park. Enjoy this weekend, and you'll be glad that you did.
1-800-239-WJOX. That's the phone number. The courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. Many of you are chiming in on a myriad of coaching topics.
Just remember, I read them, and I clean them up as much as I can. This one reads, man, Baton Rouge is a expletive hole. Bo asks, could Kiffin be doing this because he likes messing with the media and causing the other schools that want him to scramble because it would just play in favor because they are his competition if he stays at Ole Miss? I don't know if it's more from the competitive angle. Lane Kiffin, though, he absolutely enjoys this, enjoys the attention. And I think there's a certain degree of him that likes to have fans talk shows discussing what he's going to do and waiting on him. I think he loves it.
Do you think he feeds off of, I almost wonder if it's something that he will always carry with him from the earlier stages of his career because he got in so young and had some, he was the youngest coach in NFL history. He was at Tennessee. You had like big name coaching jobs and he fell on his face in a few of those. So do you wonder if now it's like, oh yeah, remember when all of you were laughing at me? Well, now all of you want me. And he just kind of soaks that part of it in. I think
that's good angle there.
I think that ego for Lane is.
Remember when I had hat in hand and had to go to Nick Saban and beg for him just to let me be in a building? Forget about pay. Just be in a building?
I think he carries that with him.
Someone texted, maybe Lane told his family, hey, y'all, decide what we do. We can stay at Ole Miss, go to LSU, or go to Florida. Y'all go tour the facilities, talk to the representatives, find out what the details are. Y'all decide who you want to be or where you want to be. It doesn't matter to him where he coaches, and money is not an object. I do believe that Lane Kiffin, given the three schools we're talking about, could have success. Well, he's already had success at Ole Miss. I think Lane Kiffin would have success at LSU and would have success in Gainesville. Maybe it is. Lane might maybe it's a family vote.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I like to think they're all going to gather in the living room and go around and say, all right, who wants to go here? Raise your hand. Florida? All right, stay here.
Do you think they have to pick up an object when the person has the object, they get to speak?
Oh, like the speaking pillow or something that they pass around? Maybe so. I really hope that's how this gets decided.
So it was interesting
It'd be
because
fitting, would it not?
Graham Hall, who covers the Florida Gators for Swamp 247, he posted this. He said that Florida met with Lane Kiffin's representatives Thursday night. Says the University of Florida's athletic department, including athletic director Scott Strickland and multiple representatives, met Thursday night with representatives of Lane Kiffin. The meeting was at an undisclosed location rather than in Oxford, Mississippi.
Undisclosed location.
So what if...
I guess it'd be pretty easy to... That's probably a good move, but it got out anyway, so I don't know really what it matters.
So if they had that meeting, and so now Keith Carter just wants an update on all these meetings that are going on.
But he wants the in-person update. You can't ask him at hot yoga, or you guys have a conversation after hot yoga when everybody's
Listen,
left.
he pays $5 for that 1 hour. And
He rents a
doesn't-
towel.
He doesn't have time.
He rents a towel. Maybe it's better that you rent a towel, actually, because there's been guys that have used their own towel in the past, and that has come up in
So I asked you guys yesterday on Pat Ponders.
later discussions.
But with all the information that we have now, I mean, if you're Kevin Carter and you're sitting in there today, what else do you have to say to him?
Well, that's it. Lane, I need something. I'm getting killed. You're just getting to float in the breeze and enjoy all of this, and I know you love it, but we've got to know. I've got to know. Do I call John Summerall's guy, or do I need to have somebody lined up? Need an answer.
You know what one of the crazy rumors last night was? You want to hear a good rumor?
Yeah.
This was one of the rumors that someone reached out to me about.
Okay.
They said, do you think Lane Kiffin is slow playing this because Sexton knows that DeBoer is leaving for Penn State and he wants the Alabama job?
I've seen that on the text line about 9 times. But have we not been told by certain people that Lane Kiffin is not getting that job?
We were told that the
I've
last
been
time.
told that.
But the only caveat that I'll throw out about that is that how much power is the current athletics director at Alabama going to have naming the next head football coach if DeBoer leaves?
It's a good question.
Because DeBoer was his guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Greg Burns done an outstanding job across the whole athletics department at the University of Alabama. But you're going to sink or swim based on your football program. So that was the big rumor last. That was one that caused multiple text messages I had to return because folks had heard that's what was going on.
Mike asked the question, at what point does Ole Miss just move on? I get it, Lane's good, but is he worth being the highest paid coach with 0 SEC title game wins or appearances? I would think it's a highly desirable job and could get another good coach for less money. I think Lane Kiffin has made that a really good job.
Mm-hmm. And Lane Kiffin has proven more than any other place, and so has Kurt Signetti, that you can go to places that aren't considered blue bloods and put together an outstanding football program that can play for championships.
If Indiana can do it, if Vanderbilt can do it,
Ole Miss,
you too can do it.
Well, and I know people have brought up, why would he be the highest paid coach? He hasn't even won a national championship. The highest paid players in the NFL are Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, and Josh Allen. How many championships have those guys won? 0. It's about what the market dictates. And if someone's going to overpay for you, then you take it.
Alan asking, does Landry and Whitweek's relationship factor into this decision? You know what? I would normally say no. But Lane Kiffin and that whole family dynamic, I would say yes, it probably does. But does Layla's history there in Gainesville, does that factor in? Who's the tiebreaker?
Well, I was about to say, what if his daughters? I love being in Baton Rouge. Me and Whit, we have the most fun. The community is so great. The students are so hungry for you to come. I mean, maybe that's what she's telling them. Maybe she's had a great time there the last couple months.
Nope. Just not doing it. It's a Friday. Let's have a good weekend.
What time?
I'll
Okay.
show you.
Okay.
Is Lane Kiffin about to sign an NIL deal with Cinemax after dark? Did we hear that rumor?
Is Cinemax
Is
still
Cinemax
around?
still around?
That's what I was going to ask.
Or did HBO and Cinemax form what was HBO Max or is? Or
I mean, I have HBO, but I don't have Cinemax, so I don't know.
I know as a kid, if you went over to the person's house and their parents had Cinemax, learn things. Trip asking, Wimp picked Oklahoma minus 6.5. What was the first blue plate that he had?
Texas 8.5 over Arkansas.
Sean says if Penn State wants Kalen DeBoer, they can have him. I didn't like the hire when it was made. I said all year in as many different ways as I can, but I'll try one more. This Bama team is broken, and the coaching staff hasn't shown me that they are the staff to fix it. Happy trails to Happy Valley, according to him.
See, my question in that case would just be, I would love to know who that person would want to replace Kalen DeBoer. Not if you don't want him there, that's a valid opinion. We've had a lot of people today across the shows texting and say, yeah, good riddance, let him go. But
what's the alternative?
I don't think Dan Lanning's mind has changed in the last 2 years.
No.
I think Marcus Freeman's having a good time there in South Bend.
A source that I trust says Lane took a shower after yoga this morning.
Good.
But what if he didn't?
Oh.
Jason says when I was a kid that we called it Skinamax. Heard that one before. No, I'm not reading that one. What realistically is the temperature for DeBoer's seat if he loses to Auburn in 2 weeks? So if 100 degrees would be the hottest, Pat, that his seat could get, would you say that his seat would be at 90?
Going into 2026?
Yeah.
I don't think it would be that hot.
75.
That probably. Not as hot as Hugh Freeze going into this season, but it'll be up there.
Someone from Arkansas, thanks for listening on the app. Maybe it's Ty. Says NIL broke Alabama. NIL's changed it for a lot of programs. Someone asking you, imagine Paul Bryant Jr. turning over the keys to Joey Freshwater. I mean, I can, but I'm not paying the bills. I think now maybe some hangups that certain boosters used to have and knowing the nature of college football these days. I think a lot of people are just going to put personal dislikes aside. Can this guy come in, keep the store open, keep us making money for the next 3 to 5 years? That's it. That's reality, whether we like him or not.
I mean, if Alabama doesn't make the college football playoff this year, that is another missed opportunity for Alabama to make millions of dollars.
Yeah, and as nice of a guy as Kalen DeBoer is, as much as we like him, I think he's just a really good human being and an outstanding football coach. Bottom line is, if he doesn't make college football playoff games, he's not going to be there.
Nope. I mean, go back, and I know things have changed so much in the last 5 years, but I mean, go back 5 years ago and tell someone, hey, Alabama might not make, they're going to expand the playoff to 12 teams, and Alabama's not going to make it 2 years in a row. No one would have believed that. Okay, yeah, sure. Maybe they'll miss the 14 playoff, but 12? You're not one of the 12 best teams?
Yeah.
Greg asking, how about that Eastern Illinois game this weekend? Have we forgot that? LOL. No, we talked about it with Mike Rodak for all of about the 35 seconds that it deserved. Eastern Illinois is a terrible football team. Tony Romo, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Dino Babers is all you need to know about Eastern Illinois.
We will continue on with your text. Top of the hour, we'll talk some high school football playoffs. This is Three Man Front on Jocks.
12:52, three-man front on this Friday. Appreciate your participation every single day here on the show. Kyle Parmley breaking down the high school playoff slate at the top of the hour. We'll continue with your phone calls, a lot of reaction and discussion about Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. Michael gets us started. Michael, how are you?
I'm good, man.
Good.
Hey, man. What do y'all think about the Stephen A. thing where they talking about Ole Miss and talking about these boys don't want to play here and a bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense?
Michael, thank you for the phone call. I don't know. I did not see or listen to Stephen A. and what he had to say.
I did not see the clip either. I understand based on Brett Norsworthy was on the show yesterday, and he made some reference to it. And if what Michael just said about players not wanting to play in Oxford, Mississippi, or whatever the case may be, that hasn't been the case over the last 5 years.
No.
I mean, he has drawn some of the best talent out of the transfer portal to Ole Miss. So whatever Stephen A. Smith was talking about, again, I did not hear the clip like Landrum, so I can't really comment on something I didn't hear. But based on what our caller just said, if it had something to do with people not wanting to play in Oxford or play, because once again, you know the history of the university, you know the history of obviously the rebel flag and things that, you know, obviously represented the symbols of the Ole Miss Rebel football team back in the 70s and 80s. And then Tommy Tuberville made a change there and went away from rebel flags and things like that. So,
but isn't the reason that Lane Kiffin's such a top candidate for these jobs is because he's been able to attract a lot
he's
of
been able to
talent
win.
to Oxford?
Yeah. So, yeah, if that's what Stephen A. Smith was referring to, then what has happened over the last 5 years that would indicate that players don't want to go there and play?
Quickly, let's go to Crimson Convict. CC, what's up?
Hey, boys, what's happening?
Hey, you got less than a minute.
All right, 10-4. Listen, how in the world has Alabama got wrapped up in these distractions? And I guess my next question is, how realistic is it? And is this Jimmy the Puppet Master Sexton, you know, pulling his strings behind the scenes?
How realistic do you think it is that Auburn beats Alabama?
Oh, God, bro. Come on. 30% chance?
Okay.
40% chance?
All right. Then I would say that maybe that's your chances that Kalen DeBoer leaves for another job.
Right now, man. I don't need this. Happy Thanksgiving, man.
All right. You too. Keep it together, CC.
He wasn't having a good time when he called in.
He left in a bad way.
It's going to be all right, CC.
Kyle Parmley next.